So another video on some cool AI use cases. This one's all around the inbound process. So when you've got a hand raiser or a contact us, how do we figure out if that's good or not? How do we disqualify? How do we make sure that we can follow up quickly with the right message? How do we know what they're interested in? How do we know who else might be in the buying group committee for that deal? So I'm using Clay, I'm using n8n. I'm going to walk through it step by step, and hopefully it can inspire some use cases or similar workflows to you. Okay, so I'm in n8n. The only reason I'm showing you this part really is just to let you know we're sending the data to this webhook from the HubSpot form. You could just send the data direct to Clay if you have the CRM connected for Clay. We don't, so that's why we've just got this step. But when the data gets into Clay, once we have someone fill out our contact us, we're receiving that in the webhook, we're splitting out the domain, and then we're capturing all of the other fields as well. There's all the fields in here. But we're splitting out the note field here to show us what they were interested in. And then the first AI step, so we've hooked up our OpenAI API. So then we have this prompt, which is basically saying you're going to get the content from our contact us, read it, and then help us know if it's a good lead or not, disqualify, or say if there's legitimate interest. So you can see about half of these have been disqualified, and you'll see the reason why. So this one was disqualified because they're inquiring about being on our podcast. This one was disqualified because they wanted to sell us something, but this one was legitimate, and this is the services that they were looking for. This was legitimate with the services that they were looking for. So that's the first AI step, and we want to do that because we don't want to run all of these other columns and pay for credits and do the other alerting that we're going to do if they're a disqualified contact us. So again, it's a super helpful AI step here, because you don't have to manually go through and decide whether they're a good fit or not. So then we go to the next part here. So there's like two parts to this. I'm going to talk about this part first, and we'll jump to the bit later. But one of the things that we ask on our form, this is our form here, is how did you hear about us? So we get some good information in there. Like you see podcast, G2. There's the ones that aren't run are the ones that were disqualified. So people put in other stuff into that. But then we got one from a CMO, and then one from Referral. So for us, it's actually really useful to figure out who the person is who referred this person to us. So we have this step here, which is saying super simple. Just have a look at the contact us form for how did you hear about us field. If they mention a person or a title, respond with find referrer. If not, do not find. So we're going to use this like later on. So I'm going to show you how we then go about trying to find that person who referred them. We're doing like normal enrichment. So we're getting the LinkedIn URL enrichment here with a waterfall. We're then doing some Crunchbase enrichment, standard stuff, not non-AI, just using Clay's out of the box capabilities around enrichment. But getting the funding information is interesting to us. The next step we have is this AI field here. So whenever someone, right now we don't allow booking a meeting on our website because they're all just going to come to me. And when we put it on before, like we would get, some good meetings, some not. And I kind of like to control like a bit more the meetings that I take on, because usually we might be at capacity, and just having meetings put directly into my calendar was causing some issues. So this is going to respond with the email. So we have like a follow-up email template, and then we give it some extra context around what they're asking for, to then write us an email like, thanks for getting in touch, I'm glad you found us through the podcast. Looks like we have a great fit here. Here's a link to set up some time, and here's what we're going to talk about on the first call. So that we're not sending that automated. I'll show you in a minute how we handle that, but essentially it's going to draft me an email in Gmail. We do some more company enrichment on the company. And the reason we do that is because this is where we get back to this referrer. So if you remember, I was talking about we want to find out if someone referred us. So this example here, it was the CMO. They said they just wrote CMO and how do you hear about us? So the first thing we do is we try and find who that person is, just like with a normal find contacts at company enrichment. So we just use, the company LinkedIn URL, which we had got previously from the company enrichment, and then we pull in that how did you hear about us. So that's going to have a CMO for this one. Some others it's going to have some other stuff. We're only going to run this though, if you remember, if we have find referrer. So that's why it's only been run once, because we only wanted to find that. So far there's only been one in this small data set of 10 here. And I'll show an example of this in a bit as well. But then if that is not found, so that's kind of an easy one, trying to find the CMO at a company. But if it's harder than that, we have another AI agent that's going to go out and try and find that person. So I'll show you that working in a little bit. And then once that's all run, we then send the data back to n8n through this webhook. We've got this if statement, so based on some logic that I put in, so it will come down here if it was coming back from Clay. It's going to draft me an email and it's going to send us a Slack message. Okay, so let's see this working then. So I'm going to go here, go to CS2 marketing. If you go to CS2 marketing, come to our website, we've got this let's chat. I'm going to take out this test so I can properly find me on LinkedIn. And then I'm just going to submit this, say, I should want some life cycle support. So life cycle architecture, analytic, and maybe some AI go to market support. Okay, we're saying through my CEO, this is going to be important for this test. So I'm going to submit. So in a minute, we should see this new person come in. Cool. So that remember, it went to n8n first, and now it's coming through here. So right now it is doing the lead qualification. So it passed that lead qualification. It was legitimate interest because, obviously it was, and it's had the right stuff that we're looking for in the what you want to talk about field. And then because it had this, how did you hear about us through my CEO? It's saying, okay, we should, the response through my CEO is mentioning the person title. So that's what I put into the prompt, right? So now it's saying, okay, put in find referrer. We have the LinkedIn. This is just my normal, this is my URL. This is just the, the find the LinkedIn URL. Waterfall enrichment that we have. We don't have any funding, so Crunchbase didn't find us. I've got the email prep for me. It enriched the company. Now, in this find referrer, it didn't work because I should probably figure out, I know I could figure out a way to make this better and just like strip out just the title. But I kind of liked doing it two ways, because right now what it's looking for is through my CEO is the search. So it's like, go to CS2 and try and find through my CEO. Like I should just have an AI field which just takes out through mine, just keep CEO and then push that into this, and it'll probably work. But I want to test out the capabilities here. So if you look at this, they did find Chrissy, right? So now I have this referrer LinkedIn URL, and I know it's Chrissy. So they found Chrissy. So that's awesome. And then push back into n8n. It's going to create a draft for me, and it sent me a Slack message. So let's go check that out. All right, so here's my draft. Right? Look, hi Charlie. Thanks for getting in touch. Great to see you found us through your CEO. I'm going to probably change this at some point to be able to then say like through Chrissy. And then, I can always edit it if I want when I come into my draft. Let's have a solid fit here. Do a ton of work and go to market ops support, lifecycle architecture, analytics. Let's schedule a call. It says CS2 and CS2 because it's normally the template would be like CS2 and company name, but obviously the test I did was CS2. And then what we're going to talk about on the call. So that all came through pretty perfectly. And then here's the Slack message that just came in. So the email, LinkedIn, it's got the referrer that we got, so I can go, make sure like message. I can either message them on LinkedIn. If we're not connected, connect with them. It's got the information in there. Then it has just a link to my drafts that I can click and then go edit the email and then send. So when it comes to AI and go to market, I have like my top 3 use cases, and one of them is all around the inbound process. It's one of those jobs to be done that has a lot of components to it, a lot of inefficiency, tons of just like time wasted by expensive people in your team, like salespeople, marketing people troubleshooting things, ops people troubleshooting things, bad data coming through and wasting everyone's time. There's a ton of ways that we can make that whole process better. I speak to so many clients. One of them I was talking to the other day, they have like every single person has to manually route. And it's because like what someone might write in the, why do you want to work with us type field is very nuanced. And depending on that, they might route it to someone different. Perfect job for AI. They've got one person that's spending hours doing this. And now you could get an AI to run that. And maybe it gets it wrong 3% of the time, but 97% of the time it's getting it right. And that is totally worth it. So there's a lot more that you could do with this. This is just CS2's use case, right? Like meeting prep for SDRs, like more detailed company research beyond just like, I looked at the Crunchbase data, but most companies out there, when a lead comes in, maybe an SDR had to go to the website, do some looking around the website, doing some Googling, trying to figure stuff out about the company, try to find out the signals. All of that can be done with AI now and just surfaced to the salesperson. So that workflow, inbound hand raiser, gathering some data on them, whatever that is, like whether it's using agents or not, getting the right data into the hands of the salesperson, quickly drafting the email based on the context and what happened and the interaction was captured in the form, and then getting the meeting booked. Or even better, right? Like if there's some parts of the enrichment process, that you can do really quickly, or if there is even just agent-based, that might take a little bit of time. But then once they pass the qualification, the booking link is just sent to them, right? Like the kind I just talked about, it can sometimes take like days to get an email and a booking link sent out to someone who's like expressing interest. And that's just not good enough, right? You're going to lose clients like that. You're going to lose business. So if you can get or even end-to-end automated, either when the pop-up comes for the booking or an email goes out with a booking link, to get that locked in and that next step locked in, because the pieces in the middle were very time-consuming and manual in the past. Now you can just plug AI into so many parts of that process, make it a lot more inefficient and better, and that's going to instantly improve conversion rates through the funnel. So one of my favorite use cases, so many ways you can play this. Let me know if this was interesting and useful, and I'll keep showing you what we're learning and doing.